Buenos días! Today we're going to go through a quick lesson on the numbers, los números, from 0 to 30. So, 0 a 30. We're going to learn a new expression, a new question, ¿Cuántos hay? Which is to ask how many are there of something. And in our next lesson we'll learn telling time, which combines our verb ser, which you have learned, and then our numbers. So we'll go through this presentation first, just simply reading off the numbers, and you can practice saying the number after me. Then I'm going to go back and explain some nuances or some tips for remembering certain numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, I went through those quickly. So we're going to go back and point out a few things about these numbers. So I kind of grouped the numbers when we're looking at them into 3 different categories. So we have first our numbers 1 through 10, which a lot of you may already know. Then we've got this kind of weird set of numbers in between 11 and 15. And then we've got a little pattern that we see in the numbers 16 through 19. And then after that, the numbers start to become more regular in their patterns. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So starting off, we have uno. So if we're just counting, we will say uno with the O, uno, dos, tres. But if we're using uno as a modifier for a noun, so one, or a, so one student or a student, we would say un estudiante. Same here, I chose words that begin with U just for fun. So we have un ukulele, una uva. Now, una, this is our one number that becomes feminine in its ending to match with a feminine noun. So since the word grape is feminine, uva, we'll make it una uva. Same thing for, let's say, una niña or una mesa. One table, a table, it's the same word. Una. Dos. So just to practice some with our pronunciation, I've given you some similar words here that use D's. So we have dos dados, dados, our dice, and dos dedos, fingers. Notice that soft D we have in the middle of those two. Dados, dedos. Tres. Tres. Now here we have a fun tongue twister, so see if you can pronounce this to practice your TR combination. Tres tristes tigres tragan trigo. Tres tristes tigres tragan trigo. We now have cuatro. Careful with the spelling of cuatro. It's not with a Q. That would be Italian. Spanish we use a C. So cuatro cuadernos. Cinco cinturones. 6 sombreros. Remember, my pronunciation of the C's and the Z's are going to be particular to Spain. Around here, most other places in the world, including all of Latin America and Mexico, the preferred pronunciation is cinco cinturones. So it sounds exactly like an S in that case. Siete sándwiches, 8 ollas, 9 naranjas, 10 damas. Okay, so I consider that kind of our first category of numbers. You can learn those all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pretty easy. Our next little category are these numbers 11 through 15. I grouped them together because there's not really a pattern to them. You just have to memorize them. So we have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You notice by the first part of the word that they do have a common root with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So we had uno Here we have 11. We had dos, now we have 12. We had tres, now we have 13, etc. Okay, now our numbers 16 through 19 have a pattern. So you notice in parentheses I have 10 y 6, because what this word really means is literally 10 and 6, 16. So all of these numbers from 16 to 19 are going to be formed by the base 10, 10, y, and then the smaller number. So 16, 17, 18, 19. And then we get to 20. I've underlined the EI just to point out, if you have trouble with spelling, that this vowel combination is A, 20. Our other vowel combination, if it's IE, is the sound ye. So 10, 16, 17, etc. Alright, now we have our numbers 21 through 30. And 21 through 29 are pretty easy, so we do the same thing, or a similar thing to what we did with our numbers 16, 17, 18. We take our word 20, 20, our y, which means and the smaller number, so 21, 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, and you can probably guess the rest. 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. And then finally we get to 30. Now we'll have more numbers above 30 later on, but for now, that's good. So we have numbers 0 to 30. Now we're going to look real quick at a question word, cuántos. Cuántos means how many. So if I ask you cuántos hay, we need to put a noun in the middle of those two verbs, so those two words. So cuántos estudiantes hay, for instance. Cuántos estudiantes hay en la clase. And let's say there are 25 students in the class. So I would say hay, give me your number, 25 estudiantes. Hay 25 estudiantes. Okay. What about cuántas? Now we've changed it here from cuántos to cuántas because what do you notice about the word computadoras? Computadoras is feminine, okay, so it ends with an AS, it's plural. So we're going to actually make the word cuántos change to cuántas to modify, to agree with computadoras. So cuántas computadoras hay en el laboratorio? Let's say there are 30. So we'll start our answer with hay. Hay 30 computadoras. Hay 30 computadoras. Okay, think about this next one. We have ¿cuánta cafeína hay en un café? ¿Cuánta cafeína? Notice the difference between the previous example and this one. Our previous example, our word was computadoras, which is plural. We have an S. On this one, cafeína is singular. So our question is now not cuántos, not cuántas, but cuánta, how much, instead of how many. ¿Cuánta cafeína hay en un café? How much caffeine is in a coffee or a cup of coffee? And I just put 70 milligrams, so we would say hay. Now, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself since we haven't done the number 70 yet, but I'll give it to you. It's hay 70, so hay 70 miligramos de café. Or de cafeína. So hay 70 miligramos. And our last one, just to show you our other form we can have of cuántos, is just simply cuánto. Okay? So dinero is money. So we wouldn't say how many money, but how much money. It's singular. So that's why we've changed cuántos back to cuánto. ¿Cuánto dinero hay en la cartera? How much money is there in the wallet? So let's say there's nothing, there's 0. Okay, we could say cero, right? But I want to teach you an easy way of saying there's not any money. All we'll do in this case, instead of just saying hay, we will say no hay. No hay dinero. No hay. And that works. Okay, so just a quick review. We've learned cuántos, meaning how many, cuánto, meaning how much, and then it has its feminine variants, cuánta and cuántas. We learned the verb hay, which means there is or there are. And by the way, hay is a very special verb because it does not change depending on whether we're talking about something singular or something plural. So if I say there is one girl in the class, I will say hay una chica. If I say there are 15 girls, I'm still going to use the verb hay. Hay 15 chicas. Okay, so that's there is or there are. We've gone through our numbers 0 through 30, and for additional practice, you can go back to your book. You can find tons of resources online, and I would recommend you go ahead and try to do your homework that is related to números. You're going to see a few questions that talk about addition and subtraction. Our key words there for adding and subtracting are más and menos. So you might hear someone ask you something like, ¿Cuántos son? Dos más dos. How much is 2 plus 2? Or 2 plus 2 is what? Cuatro. See? ¿Cuántos son 10 menos 3? So what is 10 minus 3? Son 7. Okay, so those words again are más and menos. So you might see a few of those on your homework. Okay, so buena suerte, good luck. Hasta pronto.